Kerman gave his life in the pursuit of peace for all Kerbal kind. He shall be forever remembered for his heroic sacrifice and for the selflessness with which he acted. May others learn from his noble deed.
So there we just had Macmin Kerman delivering a eulogy about Danny. Now, public opinion is a bit divided on whether he deserves a sort of a monument and a burial and sort of making a big deal of it when I asked you guys. So instead we had a small ceremony and yeah, just a few close friends in attendance. Now, this week we're going to the moon because we need to have some sort of off-planet base so that we can conduct microgravity research and so on without having too much interference. And a lunar base would be a great place to be able to have a launching point for other places. We could go to our planets, we could use it as a research and refueling station, or we could even put a few weapons platforms there. And, you know, it'd be much harder to be spied on, because, frankly, they'd have to go a very long way to spy on us. So, here we're using the magnetic modular multi... It has 3 M's in the name. The MMM mod, which surely makes it just the 4 M's. Anyway, yeah, and we're going to try and use this. And now the thing about this mod is they're all hollow and your Kerbals can walk around inside them, and it's got little airlocks and stuff. However, it's a little bit of a pain to launch. So I'm trying my best here to put it together, and then we're going to flip it over, put it on top of a rocket and just shoot it into orbit. Now we could just dock them all in orbit and then try and land it, but that is a number of problems. Like, for a start, this is basically each part is a separate docking part, so you can dock them all together and then land it. If we do that, we'd have to then put some sort of tug system onto it and make sure that that's centered and that the lift and the mass are in the right place. And that would take time and effort, and frankly, we want to get this moon base up and running as soon as possible. I know I'm going to recap, but I said microgravity research on the moon, didn't I? Yes, that's stupid. That's not microgravity. Microgravity would involve being in very small gravity. The moon actually has too much gravity for that. Anyway, low gravity research, and, you know, a stepping point for microgravity research. Yeah. So we're going to try and chuck this onto the top of a rocket. Now, the sub-assembly loader, that's one. Subsystem assembly loader? Yeah, that mod is incredibly useful for this, because that way we can build the parts individually and then chuck them together. Now, I'm thinking about what to put on here. I'm thinking some sort of rotational weapon system with a couple of light probes packing Sparrow missiles. And then if we put them on a Rotatron from Dam Robotics, we can turn it around and then fire them off, and then basically it'll give us the entire coverage of Kerbal Sphere Insolence, because we can go out pretty easily, so we can get to Minmus. And we can go in really easily as well, because that's a very small amount of delta V, because we're starting from the moon. And it also gives us a defensive point in case Styx decide to attack the installation. In the end, I think I'm going to go with just docking ports, and we can dock the parts onto it later, just to save on the weight and the part count and the complexity. Putting some solar panels on. Now, in real life, there have been loads of studies about colonization of the moon. I think there's Project Horizon, which was the US Army in 58, no, 59? 58? 59. 59. The Linux Project, which is the US Air Force, in 67. I mean, to be fair, the only branch of the American military that hasn't decided that they want to colonize the moon at some stage is the US Navy. And, you know, since they discovered in the last few years that there's quite an amount of water on the moon, that can't be far away. Of course, they need to melt it first, but, you know, big laser, then, you know, proper seas on the moon, and the US Navy will be all over that. Like, stink on poo. Stink on French cheese. Anyway, let's flip this over and try and build this. Put a nuclear engine there. And then if we put some upwards firing nuclear engines on the side, we can then basically flip over, drop it, and then use those nuclear engines just to eject the lifter tug part. Now the problem is that although with the recent update you can change the command part, it still remembers in which order you built the parts, and it doesn't seem to like them being placed in certain ways. It just seems very picky, and I think the system needs to be a bit more refined. It's really good that we don't have to, you know, we can actually change the command part now, but it's still a bit dodge in some ways. And a lot of the MMM parts don't like surface attachments like that. I don't know whether that's an issue with MMM or an issue with the fact that the command part has changed. So the sub-assembly load is coming really useful here because I'm just building each part individually and then chucking them together. Now, the Russians did have a look at colonizing the moon as well, which, you know, because the internet is mainly an English-speaking thing for us English speakers, you know, because we read the bits that are in English, which tends to be about the American space program and the moon, we also forget about the Russians. So the Russians did actually have a couple of theoretical concepts for, you know, colonizing the moon. They had the STAR program, the STAR moon-based program, which was like the 60s to the 70s. And they were looking at landing modules with, you know, layers of protection from micrometeorites, and then they'd be able to have a few astronauts on the moon and have sort of some sort of rotational system, basically like the International Space System, where people would spend some time, then move, and then have some new crew. And they also had the Columbus study, which is part of the Galaxy project, I think? Maybe I could be getting this wrong, this part, but that was in 68, I think, which looked at the feasibility of it. And, you know, you think that this is, oh, it's just Cold War posturing. Actually, recently, China has said, or a Chinese scientist has said that they could have a moon base up and running by 2022. Japan have planned to have a moon base by 2030. Russia planned to have a moon base by about 2030. And even one Republican candidate in the last elections, literally last year, said, "Oh, we can have a moon base by 2020." Wait, so 8 years and you plan to have a moon base in the middle of a global financial crisis? Okay, I think we can write that one off as insane. Right, let's have a look how we're going. We're going straight up at the moment, so it's pretty simple. And no, MechJeb has decided to launch every stage at once, including our retro engines. Yes, thank you, MechJeb. You are very helpful. I don't know why I did that. I'm sure someone can enlighten me as to why MechJeb decides to be an arsehole some of the time. What's exploding? Lift failure between the engine and the... Oh, okay. Oh, you can see it there. It's sort of flattened. Now we're going to start. Now bits are full... Okay, right. Well, a small setback for the space program so far, but, you know, Kerbal Engineering has the philosophy that, you know, if it doesn't work, then try again, and try again. So let's give it another go. This time with more struts. Basically, struts. Struts, 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 struts. More struts. Tends to be my philosophy when things go wrong. Now, although MacLeod is doing a bit of the ascent here, I'm also trying to help counteract it with the directional keys as well, so it's a sort of semi-automated... And no, bits are falling off. No. Oh, okay. Okay. Okay, now this is fallen off as well. This may be because the parts aren't really meant to be attacked together, they're meant to be docked together, and as we know, the docking clamp isn't very strong. But I don't really want to have to take each part individually into space. Have some sort of docking thing that will allow to move it around, attach it, and then declamp from it. Because that means that we're going to have to take something like a dozen parts into space individually. Each part needs its own little... The rocket's just happily flying away there, totally ignoring us. Oh. Well, we have invented a fairly inefficient cluster bomb. Okay. This is probably the last attempt. But with more struts. And this time, let's try and go up, 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 without falling apart. Things are shaking a little bit. Seems okay. Don't want to jinx it, I won't say that. You can see we're actually using a new logo and a new flag now. Elysium Empire have decided that this is a new age. They will come up with a more modern look. So we've redesigned the mission parameters because there are a lot more attempts that you didn't see there. This time we're going to make some sort of landing rover type thing with a lot of crew capacity that we can put on the moon, and we'll dig up the keythane reserves there. Rather than just being a pure habitation thing. Now, keythane I like to see as the Kerbal analog to helium-3. Now, helium-3 is basically this, well, semi-pseudo, possibly wonder fuel. Basically, like a future generation of fusion reactors could use it and make a load of power from it. The problem is we don't have it much on Earth, and in fact, the main place we get it from is the dismantling of old nuclear weapons. And we're running out of old nuclear weapons to dismantle. I think in like 2009 or something like that, it was like $100 per litre of helium-3. And then in 2010, it was about 21 times that price. And we're running out of it very fast. And it's useful for so many things. I mean, you can use it in the future fusion reactors, which of course are in the future. Obviously, as I was saying. But it's also, because of its special structure, it makes a really good cryogenic coolant thing. Words failing me. Anyway, so you can use it, like CERN use a lot of it to cool the equipment they've got there. If people don't know what CERN is the European place where they've got this big-ass super collider. Yes, so helium-3 is pretty amazing, and you need it in like medical scanners and stuff like that. And also in radiation detectors. And, you know, in the current world climate, people really want radiation detectors at airports and stuff. So it's kind of in demand, and we really are running out because we're running out of nuclear weapons, and, well, we want more of it, and more of it, and more of it. So the moon would be a good place to go for it, because the moon's actually got a lot that's been sort of layered there by the solar winds. So there's been several theories that we could go there, we could scoop it up and bring it back. One Chinese scientist said that like 3 space shuttle cargo bay loads would be enough for, I think, the year for the world, for the power supply. I think he's overestimating a little bit in how awesome it is, but it is pretty useful. I mean, fusion power does produce a lot of power, in theory. Right, so anyway, for this design, we've gone with a big-ass keythane reserve, a load of drills, and there's some vectoring engines. Now, the center of mass isn't perfectly aligned between them. Aha, you're saying, but it'll crash. Why are you doing this? Ah, my friends, I have a cunning plan. Basically, we'll just land it vertically and then slowly ease it forwards, gently, and land it from an upright position, basically make it fall over, but ease it with the engines so it doesn't just die. And then when we land stuff on top of the docking ports on its back, like the missile platform, and maybe a radio tower or something, you know, good bits of equipment. It's designed to be modular so we can expand our lunar base. Then the extra weight will shift the centre of mass backwards. And that means it will be roughly in the centre. Of course it won't be perfect, and we only want small hops at very low speeds. But, you know, ideally it would work. Now, a lot of you going, wait a minute, we've seen something like this before. The Northern Allied Territories had something like this. Well, actually, they have kindly shared a bunch of their technology. None of their weapons technology, and not any of the more advanced stuff. But the general sort of the engineering specs and so on for things like this, they've kindly offers us. Now, you're like, whoa, they're being really generous. Yeah, they may have got a lot out of our deal, like a fair amount of money and resources that we're sending them, because, you know, they've got the crappy territories up north that really don't have that much in the way of reserves. So, if we go looking for Kethane and stuff, and we find it in bunch, we can then use that, and we won't be so reliant on our fuel reserve, which now is, of course, being partly used by the Northern Allied Territories. Right, so now we know that the vectoring engines work. Let's just strut everything, because, you know, that's important. Now, this episode so far has crashed a whole bunch of times. It's partly to do with having too many mods. And no, they're not conflicting. It's because it's taking up too much RAM. And Kerbal Space Program is a 32-bit program, which means it's limited to about 3 gigs of RAM. I have no idea why they designed it as a 32-bit program. It just seems a little bit odd. Maybe, I think Unity supports 64-bit, but for anyone here who doesn't understand computers that much, this is totally going to be your head, so I'm just going to skip this, like go through it really quick. But it's a bit odd that it's not a 64-bit program, because, you know... Anyway, they recently added a load of updates that allow mods to be more streamlined once mod people get around to it. I think KW Rocketry, B9, the guy who does B9 Aerospace, obviously B9, who's now a developer, has said KW Rocketry could actually be reduced from the 400 megabytes of RAM it uses to something like 70-something, which is a fair decrease and would solve all the problems. But I'm going to have to start stripping mods soon. Now, the problem we're having here is this is just flipping over, and I have no idea why. So, you know, let's put more fins on it to stabilize it. Well, fins, canards. Vaguely canards. It's not really a plane, so I don't know if the word canard applies. It's a control surface near the top of the rocket. Now, because it's flipping over, I think we're going to have to try and just take a I was going to say you were gentle. That didn't end up being gentle. Okay, up we go. I'm totally not using MacJug at the moment, actually, because, you know, it wants to flip us. So if I do this myself, the same happens. Well, we've reached, well, out of the atmosphere. That's a start. Now, if we can just burn... we do have enough fuel to be able to make a... There we go. Let's just burn. And then... Okay, activate these. No. Ah, yes. The engines weren't getting fuel because apparently the fuel wasn't flowing backwards through the Kethane reservoirs and then into the engine. So we've had to strut this little thing on the side and then run the fuel pipes over to it. No, it flipped over again. A few more crashes later, and I don't just mean real, like, Kerbal crashes, I mean a lot of software crashes later. I think we're currently running at about 30-ish crashes in the making of this episode. I think this number will get up a bit higher before the episode ends, but we actually managed to make a stable orbit by basically brute force, there were many failures. And I've roughly circularized our orbit. So let's make our burn. I'm not using MechJeb for this, I just want MechJeb to execute the node for me. But then I decide, no, MechJeb won't execute the node for me because MechJeb seems to want to execute the node at the node time, whereas actually KSP assumes that you do all your delta V at the point of the node, so you need to split it 50-50 either side. So I just like to manually do ones like this, just so you can watch the periaps and get it to exactly where you want. So here's me just inching it to about 35-36 kilometers. Also, because when I've done this and I've had MechJeb just throw me off into interplanetary space before, it's probably better now, but, you know, I like to do it myself. We haven't got a great inclination, but... And it's not perfect, but it's good. It's maybe like a few degrees, so that'll do, pig. And we've got a fair amount of fuel still left in the main boosters, so we can use that to circularize orbit around the moon. Bum bum bum. Now, a number of you asked where the Corvette was. It's back. Problem is that its main Gatling guns don't work anymore thanks to the limited nuclear exchange, the EMP sort of damaged the Gatling guns, and now we can't import weaponry. We don't have any replacements, and our scientists can't figure out how they work. So she's going to be going under some refit. She'll be back probably next episode. She's actually in orbit as we speak. Now we're just going doing a few scans of the planet to make sure we can find the Kethane. But yes, she's actually in orbit around Kerbal at the moment, undergoing a refit. We're probably just going to chuck a load of Sparrow missiles on the front. We'll keep the main cannon, you know, see if that works, but yes, she will be back. She looks amazing for a start. Don't think we ever named her. We should probably name her. Anyone want to suggest a name for our Corvette? Yeah, if you want to suggest a name, put it in the comments. So normally I'd go with sort of a mythological theme and so on. So, you know, those are more likely to get picked, but frankly, my imagination has taken a nosedive, partly because the amount of crashes in this episode so far has got me so dejected that my imagination has decided to go hide in a small hole until I can actually get things working again. My very essence has been crushed, which is why this episode is now out on a Monday rather than on a Sunday, which was the intended release date. And no, it's not because I'm slacking. I was actually up until something like 4:30 AM. I got most of the shots, but the crashes did get up to about, I think, 32 by the time I called it quits for the night. I was not a happy bunny. Right, now this is what I do love about MechJeb. The landing guidance thing. Now normally I don't let it do the landing guidance itself, I just use the predicted target and I pick the target and then the distance from target, estimated landing coordinates, blah 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 blah. That's all really cool. Especially when you know you want to hit an actual point, as you do with the Kethane mod. So you actually want to be able to land on your Kethane reserve rather than just landing anywhere. Now we've chosen this nice crater because it's big and flat-ish, and this is going to be a bit of a pain to land anyway because we've got to land on the end and then flip forwards. So we're going to try a nice simple landing. A nice big flat open crater. Perfect. Admittedly, you know, it makes us a little bit more obvious if anyone were to scan the moon. But, you know, we're mainly just looking for Kethane. Nothing really wrong with that. We need the resources. Nah. Right, so we've dipped our main tanks. And then we're firing our engine. Wait, why are we turning? All our 4 engines have fuel. So all the 4 engines are firing, so why are we turning? Uh, 5 kilometers altitude. We're coming in at 400 meters per second. Ah, we stopped it, right? But we're running out of RCS. I think we've got a very little bit left. And no, we're still turning. Why? Why are we flipping end over end? All the engines are working. You can see it right there. Like, oh, balls. 2 kilometers altitude. Come on. I think we're out of RCS. Ah, yes, we've stopped turning. Right, cool. Let's just slow our descent. There we go. 70 meters per second. No, we're flipping the other way now. Why? Oh, no. No, no, no. Balls. Eject, eject, eject! I think he ejected in front of the spacecraft and was squished by it. We failed. We failed a simple moon landing. Admittedly, I have no idea why. If anyone could actually tell me why we were suddenly spinning, and every time we fired the engines we got massive spin. I've been EnterElysium, and we'll continue this next time.